when you're smiling, when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, oh, when you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. When you're crying, you bring out the rain, so stop your sighing. Be happy again when you're smiling. The whole world smiles with you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fellow Foxes podcast. My name is Mike. I am your host. And, just drink it in. I hope to be singing at the King Power one day. One day. A man can dream. Alrighty, so we are going to be covering a few topics today. First up, we are going to be covering the review of Hull City. Leicester City's first loss of the season. Disappointing, to say the least, but we'll get into it. Then we're going to have a mystery segment or an intrigue segment. I'm just going to leave it at, I'm going to have a extended rant about a Leicester City legend. And if that intrigues you or piques your interest, make sure you stay till that part of the show. And then after that, we're just going to have a little preview of the Southampton game coming up on Friday. But let's get right into the Hull City game. I'm going to bring up the team lineups here. A couple things about this. Eunice gets his first start for Leicester City. It's good to see him getting the faith of the manager and getting in the lineup. Also, we had Casey McAteer out on the left. Good to see him getting regular starts under Maresca, and then obviously Kelechi Iheanacho as the sole striker. Normal midfield that we've gotten used to of Dewsbury Hall, Winks, Ndidi, and Pereira. And then the normal back three so far of Doyle, Vestergaard, and Foss with Mads Hermansen in goal. So just getting into this game, I wrote early on there was a problem for Wout Foss. And it looked like it was going to be an indicator of how this game was going to go. And I didn't want it to be that way. I just had an inkling feeling because Wout Foss has been pretty self-assured in moments like that this season. And to look so confused and unsure and just generally like risky in that situation wasn't really like him. So I was kind of worried from the off when that happened, and that could be an indication of what this game was going to be like. Going through the first half, there wasn't a whole lot. Let's see. Kelechi had a good press break. He drew a yellow. Kelechi comes back again. Wilf takes his place. McAteer had good speed, draws a yellow. Early on, it seemed like Leicester were putting Hull under pressure. The patterns of passing were coming off. Obviously, if the other team is taking successive yellow cards, then something's going right in terms of the passing because they just can't handle it. And if we look in the lineups too, if we just bring this back up, every single player in the back line of Hull City took a yellow card. So the plan was working early on, and then it kind of started to fall apart. Why does this do this? I always lose where I'm at on that page. Goodness gracious. Man, I love SofaScore, but it just seems to reload on itself all the time. Anyway, we have Winks, good control. Doyle, great defensive headers. It seems like defensively that is his strong suit, is being able to track the ball in the air and anticipate and leap at the right time. And he does have a good hop on him for a bigger guy. Eunice to Wilf, cross, Ricardo, then Eunice, chaos. It seemed like Hull had a pretty solid defensive plan for Leicester City. It seemed like Leicester were having a hard time breaking them down in the final third, Moving up the pitch was pretty easy for them. And when Leicester were countering or moving the ball a little quicker, it seemed like they had better opportunities. Whereas if they let Hull get set, it seemed as though, they could have been out there maybe all afternoon and not scored. I had good defense on Hull possession, Hull corner, more Hull possession. So obviously, there's going to be ebbs and flows in the game. Hull got a little bit of the ball. And then I wrote, this is a big note I had, Vestergaard, good defense, calm. Wilf Toure in all capitals. Yeah, I know it's a bit of a stretch. Definitely a bit of a stretch. But he looked great for a little bit in that early part of the game. Another good notch on Vestergaard's record in terms of his defending and his calmness on the ball. But right after that, literally the next line that I have written is Hull City score. And it just shows the ever-changing flow of emotions for a football fan. I went from being so happy about Vestergaard being good on defense and Wilf looking like he was trying to do his best Yaya Toure imitation. And I'd even texted Neil from Beyond the 90 LCFC. Great YouTube channel. Check him out. Absolutely great content. I messaged him on Twitter and I said, look at Wilf. Like, he looks like Yaya Toure. And I was like getting ready to have like this discussion about how great he looked. And then immediately my good mood was sapped and dashed by Leicester City getting scored on. Now, the goal that Hull scored wasn't that great, but I will say that Callum Doyle did get beaten. And that was disconcerting to see. He seems to be pretty good, like I said, tracking the ball in the air and lining himself up to head the ball. But he, at least in this game, looked really shaky one-on-one defending. I mean, a lot of times he went right by, and I think he might have got sat down once, if I'm not mistaken. So Hull City scored. After that, I have a couple of notes. Leicester looking shaky after the goal. McAteer put someone down, maybe a little frustration coming through after that goal. Dewsbury Hall had a shot. He missed wide. He didn't really seem like he was calibrated to his normal standard either. There were a couple players that so far this season have looked immaculate and nothing they do is wrong. And then for some reason this game, they just were a shadow of themselves. And I don't know, again, if that's down to a grueling season. The championship is a lot of games. I know, I think this week, or the week that they had this game, it was the third game in 7 days. So that could have had something to do with it. But there were definitely multiple players that looked like they either just didn't have it in the legs, or maybe they were carrying small injuries, something like that. But Dewsbury Hall is one of them, because normally he's a lot sharper than that. I wrote down Hull was organized, tough nut to crack. Ricardo gives away a foul. It is an unfortunate thing that every game we play this season, there's going to be more film and more studying of how to combat what we're trying to do. I do trust Enzo, even though he's a stubborn guy from what I've heard, in terms of his willingness to change. He very much believes in his style of play, and I'm happy about that. I want a confident manager. But it looked like Hull had figured out Leicester in terms of their defensive approach, and at least up until this point in the game. And then I had Eunice did good on defense, refs bias against LCFC. We will get into later the added time situation, which was a travesty, to put it lightly. But that's all I can say is that this ref really needs to maybe go back to school and maybe get an adjustment on how he referees the games, maybe get an education. I don't know what he needs, but that refereeing was a joke. An absolute joke. And really hope we don't have that ref anymore this season. I have here LCSC getting angry Kalechi draws a foul, rolls a lot, and then he was down for a long time. And then right before the end of the half, KDH to Vestergaard, and he doesn't reach it. Excuse me, a couple of things. It definitely seemed like, for whatever reason, Leicester City were letting Hull get to them, and they were fouling them a lot, and the ref was not calling a lot of it. This is something that is unfortunately a byproduct of having a lot of young players on the team, is that they can let their heads and go and let their emotions get the best of them. I understand it. I'm just unfortunately not paid that amount of money to not do it. So I'm sure it's something Maresca will be addressing, and I know that's why Maresca wanted players like Connor Cody, because Connor Cody is not just a defender. He is a leader. He is an organizer. He is a communicator. He is a motivator. We lost a lot of those at this club. I know Jamie Vardy has been called on to do that, and players respect him, but maybe that's just not who he is. Maybe he just is, someone that thrives off of the attitude of others. I don't know. And I'm sure that, roles can change as people get older, but for whatever reason, Connor Cody is here, and he's been in and around the team very close to everything, even while he's been injured. And I think that if they had more leaders in the team, maybe frustrations wouldn't boil over. And then Dewsbury Hall to Vestergaard. I've defended Vestergaard time and time again, and I will continue to do so because I don't think people are being reasonable about how much they hate him. I think people are just so quick to find someone that is, I don't know what word I'm looking for, vulnerable, I guess, or that is ripe for some kind of negative attention. And I see right now with Harry Maguire, I mean, people love to hate that guy, and it's crazy. I don't get the hate, considering that Vestergaard played under Brendan Rodgers, who was a joke. It's obvious that he destroyed this club. He destroyed some of the players. And it was probably, backhand intentional for maybe not getting what he wanted. Either way, the way that everyone has judged Vestergaard is ridiculous, and I've defended him, but that guy is so tall, I don't get why he can't win a header. I don't know if it's just the communication between the corner taker and Vestergaard, or if he just doesn't know the right moves to push people off. Because he's so big. He should be the focal point of every set piece we have. So I would love to see them work on that with him, exclusively. Don't try to make him any faster. He's not going to get faster. Try to help his reading of the ball in the air so that he can start putting in goals for us. He's too big not to be scoring headers in the box. All right, so that brought us, to the end of the first half. And at the beginning of the second half, Leicester was still looking unsure. We had a little bit of possession, and then Hull got control, and we could not press well. And then we had some subs come on. I think Maresca was maybe considering making subs at halftime, wanted to give the players a chance to get it right, put it right, maybe put the ideas that he was trying to change around at halftime right. Obviously, it wasn't working, so he went ahead and pulled the trigger. We had Fatawu and Mavididi come on, and Yunus and McAteer come off, and Cassidy come on, and Wilf come off. Now, next thing I starred was LCFC turnover, Vestergaard yellow. KDH shot, got an easy, soft, straight shot. Again, Dewsbury Hall has looked absolutely venomous all season. I remember some of the shots he's put in from outside the box were rockets. And for him to stroll into that location inside the box and just limp a shot in at the goalie, it was disappointing. I know he's capable of better. He definitely knows he's capable of better. I just think it's wear and tear. I think it's trying to get used to the new routine of this season, playing 2 games a week. It's going to be tough. And this, I think, I might have mentioned earlier that they had a cup game midweek. So this was their 3rd game in 7 days. And coming back from summer break with all of the new things they're trying to learn and all of the physical work that comes with that, I'm sure these guys are getting tired. Their bodies are tired. They're only human beings. So it's just, again, some players looked off. And Dewsbury Hall was top of the list for me. And then I started Fatawu, great dribble, left-footed shot off the post. Now, I'm going to plug him again because he's a friend and a great content creator. Neil of Beyond the 90 LCFC did an interview with a Ghanaian journalist. If you haven't seen that, I highly suggest you go watch it. He gives a nice in-depth analysis about Fatawu and just what we can expect from him and what he's seen from him. And this is his thing. His thing is cutting in from the right-hand side onto his left foot and shooting. Now, I don't know if you remember a particular winger we used to have that did that, but I've been dying, absolutely dying, for them to get another left-footed right winger that cuts in from the outside to the inside and curls balls into the box for whatever, whether it's a shot, whether it's a cross. They needed that. That's every fan has been screaming for that since Mahrez left. I'm not saying Yunus and Fatawu are going to be Mahrez, but if they can try to incorporate some of his elements into their game, they will get the fans absolutely behind them, and they'll have a lot more leeway with the fan base if we can see glimpses of what we're hoping for from a left-footed right winger in this team, especially at this club. I wrote the defense looks so open. Kelechi came off, might be injured. Doyle looks shook/injured. Again, if there was a 1A and 1B of players that just looked like they were either carrying small injuries or just completely exhausted, it would be Dewsbury Hall, 1A, Callum Doyle, 1B. He did not look great. And that's weird to say, considering he's been one of our best players so far this season. Hopefully it's just down to tiredness, and with this international break, I know he was away with the youth team for England, but hopefully he's gotten some relaxation and some recharging to come back to Leicester strong. I also marked LCFC look lost. Lots of turnovers, straight/weak passes, heavy touches. Again, what do you want to put it down to? There's so many things that you could cite as to why they would not be playing great. But at the end of the day, they just didn't look at it. Some players did, and a lot of players didn't. I didn't really notice anyone stand out too much aside from maybe Fatawu and maybe even Cassidy at times, just with his runs, that looked like they were on top of their game. And I would probably put that down to how the last week to 2 weeks has been. And then that's basically it. At the very end of the game, Ricardo got a shot, bounced up, missed. Vardy had a dummy for Cassidy, and he missed. And then Vardy just missed a header himself. Sometimes there's games that, you're not gonna score no matter how many times you shoot. That's just reality. And you can't win them all. Excuse me. In the end, Leicester are progressing with this system. They're still trying to find. Everyone's trying to find their specific roles. They're growing into these roles. There's some players that are trying to adapt their game to how Enzo wants them to play. And just Hull were up for it. And you can't say anything other than they took, the opportunity that was afforded to them. Now, who presented the opportunity is up for debate. You can say Leicester City presented the opportunity. You could say the referee presented their opportunity. Whoever presented it, they took it. And you can't fault them for that. They did what they had to do to get 3 points against a team that is heavily tipped to go right back up into the Premier League. So good on them. Crap on the ref. So we're just going to go right to some summations about this game. We had 21 shots and 1 on target. It's not going to get it done. It's not going to get it done. Again, chalk it up to exhaustion or tired legs or carrying small injuries, whatever you want. These guys did not look up for this game. And I don't know if they started reading their own back pages with the win streak that they had and being undefeated and all this. But did not look like they were up for it. So when you have 21 shots and 1 on target, not really having your shooting boots on during the weekly training session. We had 8 corners and no threat from any of them. I can't remember if the Vardy missed header at the end of the game was from a corner. Probably was, just so I looked them. But we have tall players. We have Vestergaard, 6'6". I know he doesn't play, but Suter, 6'6", 6'5". We have Wout Faes is 6'2", Wilfred Ndidi is 6'2", Cassidy is 6'2". We have some decently tall players. I don't understand how we're not a threat on set pieces, ever. And it's like the thing that has haunted this team for like the last 3 years is not being good on set pieces offensively and being absolutely abhorrent on defensive set pieces. I'm hoping, it's like one of the dreams I have at night is the Maresca coaching staff working with Vestergaard to turn him into a set piece machine. That would be awesome. But to have 8 corners and no threat from any of your set pieces is not a good look to have if you're looking to get promoted at the end of the season. In general, I don't think Hull was that good. They were solid. They had a game plan that they stuck to and executed it to the best of their ability. But they weren't carving us open. They weren't getting a million shots at goal and our goalie scrambling, just not knowing what to do. They just looked like a team that was ready to sit back and counter when they could. And they got lucky on their goal. So as a small positive from this game, I don't think any team thus far has been able to walk all over us or impose themselves upon us. The closest I would see was maybe Huddersfield, and that's just because of their defensive approach. A couple other notes, and these two can be rolled into one. Players like Doyle and Dewsbury Hall just weren't themselves, and it seemed like some were just tired or carrying injuries. I'm hoping with the international break, the players that didn't go away, they got some time to rest. The players that did, hopefully, and from what I've heard from former players, that international training is not nearly as intense as club training. So I'm hoping these guys got a chance to just kind of recharge. If they were carrying anything, get the physios or the national teams to look at them, stuff like this. Just come back stronger to Leicester so we can make this push. We started great, we're I think we're in third, right? 12 points. Not too much you could ask for a good start to the season in terms of getting to the first major break in the season, being this international break. I wrote that Wink's frustration maybe seeped into the team, or maybe his frustration was a reflection of the common frustration throughout the team, because he got a yellow card at 55 minutes for essentially just berating another player and then arguing with the ref. While I believe personally it was justified based on what happened, that's something that we can't let be a pattern. And I think it's maybe byproduct of having so many younger players on the team. I'm not saying Winks is necessarily a younger player, but just in general, the mood of the team. Um, they are younger players for the most part, and emotions can run high, especially in a game where you wholeheartedly and deservedly believe that the referee is against you. So, Winks just it seemed like an epitome of how Leicester's day was going, and the feeling amongst the team and the fans is his yellow card, and how frustrated he was. And then we're just going to say it. There were absolutely pathetic refereeing decisions. And the biggest joke was the 3 minutes of added time. How? How did you come up with 3 minutes? I would love to sit down and talk to them about that. There was whole time wasting. There were multiple substitution breaks for both teams. And there were injuries. Where do you get 3 minutes from? I genuinely was flabbergasted when they put up that time. And I would go so far as to say, and this is, obviously ridiculous, and you can all slag me off in the comments if you want. If I was Maresca and the players and saw them put up 3 minutes, I'd just walk right off the field and be like, "Nah, I'm good. Not gonna play this game." I don't know how much money was on the side of Leicester City to win that game, or at least draw. However much money was in Hull winning that game, essentially, by some miracle, which they achieved. It was ridiculous, disgusting, pathetic, whatever negative words you want to use to describe that refereeing performance. A joke. And I don't think that ref should be in charge of a Leicester City game the rest of the season. And if he is, we should all just write into the PGMOL and say, this is a joke. Get this guy out of here. This guy has a bias against this team. But that's all I'll say about it. That ref was a joke. Get him out of here. In the end, Leicester had 64% possession, 21 shots with only 1 on target, 8 corners, and 0 goals. With the talent that Leicester have, there is no way that game should not have been put to bed. There are some bright spots. Fatawu looks a threat. I really hope to see him kick on under Maresca. He is one of multiple players that have explicitly said that their talks with the manager is the major motivating factor in what had them come to Leicester City. So if Maresca has a specific plan for him, then I'm excited to see what that is and what he can develop into as that plan unfolds. We have Cody, Alves, and Braybook coming back, hopefully soon. I mentioned Connor Cody is someone that is important for this team for more than just his play. He can guide younger players. He can keep the mood in the right place, both when Leicester's winning or losing, or tied and pushing for, a draw, or pushing for a win, Getting these guys back is going to be like new signings. Alves and Braybook, I'll admit, I have not seen much of them. I have not watched much of the Leicester youth team. I've heard nothing but glowing praises for both of them. So to see how Maresca has already used academy products like Marsal and McAteer, who are just kind of coming through, it's only encouraging to know that we have more players that are of that academy level of player to be utilized under this manager. And again, getting Cody back will be huge for this team. You will notice and again, I love Vestergaard and all, but you will notice a rise in the sharpness, the attentiveness of the players, especially in the back line, I believe, when Connor Cody comes back. This was a bad performance before a break. It gives us time, especially Enzo, to work with the newer players that we got in, like Tawu and Eunice, as we got them right before the window closed, and just solidify his ideas overall. Our preseason wasn't great. We've been trying to implement ideas with these players on the fly as they're playing games. Ideally, you would have an extended period of time to get your ideas across before the season would have started, and it's just not how it works in modern football. There's too many moving parts to have that perfect utopia of a preseason. So over this international break, I'm hoping they've had an opportunity for the players that haven't gone away, and even the ones that have, to be with the manager somewhat and get more embedded into this system. Overall, it's disappointing. First loss of the season, but expect more. We're not going to win every game. This is a tough league. These teams are not separated by much. As much as you want to say Leicester City don't belong in the championship, there's other teams down there that think that they don't belong down here either. They've probably been here now for 3 and 4 years. Everyone wants our scalp. This team needs to realize that and raise their level of performance accordingly. All right, so we're going to take a small break here at the Fellow Foxes podcast, and when we come back, we are going to have a special segment that may become a regular. I'm going to do a rant, and I'm going to be ranting about a situation and context and circumstances surrounding a very beloved Leicester City legend. Stay with us. We will be right back.
When you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, oh, when you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. When you're crying, you bring out the rain, so stop your sighing. Be happy again when you're smiling. The whole world smiles with you. The whole world smiles with you. When you're smiling, oh, when you're smiling, the whole.
Welcome back to the Fellow Foxes podcast. I am Mike, your host. All right, we're going to start a segment that is new to this show. And I'll probably be doing it throughout the season considering what I've seen. But it relates to the man that this chant is about going in the background, if you can't hear. This is a chant about the GOAT himself, Jamie Vardy, and that's what this rant is going to be about. Online, and again, I'm not going to name anybody, and I don't think they would care if I did because I'm some meager podcaster. But I've seen things online comparing Jamie Vardy to legendary Premier League strikers. Just rankings, including Jamie Vardy, and comparisons, including him. And the absolute disrespect that he gets is maddening. It's maddening. This guy came from the 8th tier of English soccer. To win the Premier League title, he won the championship title, Premier League title, the Golden Boot, the FA Cup, and the Community Shield. To just come up from the 8th tier to be a player in a team like Leicester is achievement enough. To get the scoring streak record in the Premier League, breaking Ruud van Nistelrooy's record, coming from the 8th tier is unheard of. I don't know where these people get off writing this dude off like this. And people saying that he's finished now. All right, he might not be as fast as he once was. I guarantee, look, Erling Haaland has been quoted as saying he studies Jamie Vardy tape to help him figure out how to make runs off the shoulder of defenders. Erling Haaland, the best striker in the world, says that he studies Jamie Vardy. I don't care who you are. You cannot just write him off like this. This dude is a legend at this club, and he deserves respect. I don't care if Jamie Vardy is 90 years old and is on life support and says that he wants to put on a mech suit that is going to help him get on the field one more time, and he wants to start his final game. I'm letting him. The things that he's done for this club, the loyalty alone, the loyalty that he has shown this team is unrivaled. And I really want people to check themselves a little bit when they talk about Jamie Vardy and when they talk about what he is now and what he offers this team and who he's better than and his career. The guy has done it all. He doesn't need to prove anything to anybody. And anyone that writes him off, I don't care if it's his last season. I still think he has a lot to contribute. He's adapting his game. I've already seen in the games that he's played, he's trying to learn how to control his touch, trying to learn how to lay the ball off in this new system that we're playing. And again, I've talked about in my previous podcasts, the difference between him and Kelechi Iheanacho is great. They're way different players. And when you have Kelechi Iheanacho pulling center backs into midfield all game, they have to track him into midfield as he tries to get these passes fizzed into him to lay off. When they have to switch from that line of thinking to now worry about Jamie Vardy, arguably the greatest running off the shoulder striker in the history of football, they have to worry about him running in behind after they've been sprinting into midfield for 70 minutes. It creates a difficulty amongst the defenders of opposing teams. It switches their mindset. They have to switch up what they've been doing. Now they're running towards their own goal. Now they're facing their own goal as opposed to having their back to their goal where they still have everything behind them. I want to see the disrespect stop. The man is beyond criticism at this point. I mean, obviously there's things people can do that deserve criticism, but to hold him in such low regard in rankings that have people like Fernando Torres and Didier Drogba and all these things. No. The only reason that Vardy is not highly regarded as arguably the greatest striker in Premier League history is because he played for Leicester City. If he played for Manchester United, or he played for Chelsea, or he played for, I don't know, even Tottenham potentially. Maybe not. Let's not give Tottenham too much credit. He would be arguably a Premier League legend already. Still playing. And he is, in my eyes. But he would be regarded as such by a much wider audience. But because he was at Leicester, and he is at Leicester, he doesn't get the accolades he deserves. It's the same thing with James Maddison. Look at everyone now. Loves James Maddison. Thinks James Madison's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Is James Maddison the greatest signing of this season? It's because he's playing for Tottenham. Because he's getting the attention from the pundits and the media. When he was playing for Leicester, he didn't get this. Every so often, you could get someone talking about him, but it was in passing. And now that he's playing for Tottenham, he's getting in the England squad a little more. He's around the England squad. I mean, it's clear why Jamie Vardy is disrespected in all these things. It's because people have a bias against non-traditional non-top 6 teams. So we're just going to leave it at that. I'm going to see this more online all season, I'm sure. But these people will eat their words. I know for a fact that Jamie Vardy will play a significant role in this season. I know that he will definitely contribute to the Leicester City instant return to the Premier League. And you can take that to the bank. Because if there's one thing I know about this dude, is when you talk shit, you get banged. All right, everybody. That is the end of the rant here. And we are going to take another small break. And we are going to return with a little preview of the Southampton game on Friday. So just stay with us at the Fellow Foxes podcast. We will be right back.
Smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, oh, when you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. When you're crying, you bring out the rain, so stop your sighing. Be happy again when you're smiling. The whole world smiles with you.
Oh, man. I love this chant. I absolutely love this. Oh, man. What a great, great chant. Welcome back to the Fellow Foxes podcast. We are going to be covering just a little bit of a preview for the Southampton game coming on Friday. So let's just get our computer up here. Oh, boy. This is going to give me some trouble, ain't it? There we go. All right, and we're going to get over to our Southampton. I'm going to let that come up. Oh, American internet. All right. So we're just going to go over a couple of things that I want to talk about with Southampton in specific. So if we look here, it has their average SofaScore rating of 7.02. They've played 5 matches in the championship. They've scored 10 goals. They've conceded 12. And then we have the league table, where it shows Leicester City in 3rd place, 12 points, 7 goals for, 4 goals against. And then we have Southampton down here in 7th, 10 points. I'll be honest with you. This, I feel like, is our first real test of the season. I think Southampton have been pretty good in the transfer market. Now, I respect these guys a lot, and if you get a chance to watch them, I highly suggest their material, the Second Tier podcast on YouTube. I watch a lot of their coverage just for their analysis of all the championship teams. And these guys are pretty high on Southampton. I believe Justin Peach has a little bit of a criticism of them. He doesn't think that they are clinical enough. He doesn't think that they are just their finishing is not that great, and their overall offensive output maybe hasn't been what it should or what its potential is. And Ryan Dilks is very hot on Southampton, loves Southampton, thinks they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and Ipswich, obviously. But this is a heavyweight matchup. Obviously, it's two the relegated teams going up against each other. Southampton definitely the more impressive in terms of what they look like this summer. I mean, they sold so many players. They made so much money. And they're still competitive. So their signings obviously are quality. There's a couple players that I'm particularly worried about with them. And if we go to, getting discombobulated here. We go to this page right over here. And then it's going to reload because for some reason they all decide to unload every time I pull away. And they had a player list. That's what I wanted. And now I'm not seeing it. All right. Well, maybe we don't have that. We'll give it one more check on this side. Okay, here we go. So, from what I know about Southampton, definitely down here in the midfield, we have two players we really need to worry about, Sulemana and Alcaraz. I remember Alcaraz from last season. He's definitely one of their brighter players. He's an attacking midfielder, can dribble, has a nice shot on him, can pick a pass. And Sulemana has just been touted as one of the best wingers in the championship. So definitely got to, with Doyle looking the way that he looked one-on-one defending, I don't know if maybe we give James Justin a shout on that left-sided center-back, full-back position. He's two-footed. We've seen him, play on that left-hand side as a left-back before. Whatever we need to do, we need to be careful because Southampton is a good team. They only have, we've won 4 and lost 1. They've won 3, drawn 1, and lost 1. So, I mean, if one of those draws turns into a win, they have the same exact record as us. So we need to be on it. This is definitely a chance for Leicester City to put a marker down. When you have a good performance and solid performance against one of your promotion rivals, you let other teams know what's up. You let other teams know that you're not playing around the season, that you're going to learn from your mistakes, and hopefully the players come out fired up to rectify what happened at home against Hull. But that is going to be it. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of information about Southampton. I haven't, unfortunately, been able to watch them. Being a U.S. fan, we only get to pay for the Leicester City stream, and that is it, aside from what ESPN picks up. So I don't have too much information on Southampton, but again, it's a heavyweight matchup that Leicester City need to be up for. But that will wrap things up here today on the Fellow Foxes podcast. Again, thank you for tuning in. If you made it this far, please share this with anyone that you know enjoys Leicester City content. Again, we are pushing on throughout the season. I'm hoping that starting now, I won't have to be shaven for the rest of the season. Come Friday, we get a win, and Leicester City push on throughout the season and continue to make their bid for the Premier League promotion. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great next couple days as we wait for the game on Friday. And everyone be safe, be healthy, and be loved.